Good evening. I'm calling the Monday, December 8th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting to order. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you, everyone. All right. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have any requests for changes to the agenda, or do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approve the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, agenda's set. All right, looking at the minutes from our meeting on November 17th, does anyone have any concerns about the minutes or edits or? Not seeing any. Entertaining motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve the planning minutes.
All right, do I have
Second.
a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the minutes from November 17th are approved. Moving on this evening, we have one public hearing, and that's Wings Financial Credit Union 2025-10. It's a site plan review on 9.08 acres. The applicant is requesting approval to construct a 3,271 square foot building in the northwest corner of the Cub Foods parking lot located on 8015 Den Road. The proposed site plan includes a drive-through for an ATM machine and sufficient parking for both businesses. The site plan proposal meets all zoning requirements and performance standards. All right, will the proponent of the project please come forward? Good evening. If you could state your name for the record, please, and tell us about your request.
Yes, sir. My name is Hans Schmidt. I'm an architect with Pope Design Group working with Wings. I believe there should be, oh, there we go. Excellent. Is everyone familiar with this? Have we read? Everyone's caught up? All right, well, I'm going to give a quick refresher, and I'm going to use my notes because then I'll be clear and concise. We can go to the next slide. Oh, is that me? Yeah, I thought I was in charge. All right. Okay. So I wanted to point out a couple of things here. Just an introduction to Wings, if everyone is familiar. Wings has a current membership of 383,423 members in Minnesota. They're the largest credit union in Minnesota, and in Eden Prairie, there are 5,964 people who call the Eden Prairie branch their home. 3,963 are residents. You can see a breakdown of kind of the age range of people in Eden Prairie who go to Wings. And I'm going to read a little bit about what the proposal is and then field any questions. So if you can go to the next slide, this will be, you can see a site plan of the proposed new branch, as well as a brief description. And I'm going to read through this, and then following this, there are slides that are effectively 4 or 5 other branches of the similar architecture, similar setting, which is kind of what I want to also point out as being very successful in other communities in Minnesota. So if you look at the site right now, you can see that to the east, southeast of this corner of the parking lot is Cub Foods. Primary access for the new building will utilize the existing access on the northwest area of the site via Den Road. Additional existing access on the southwest corner of the site via Den Road, and the south side of the west of the site via West 78th Street will remain. So we're not messing with existing access to this site overall. We are maybe improving even how people access this site. Wings Credit Union has entered into a land lease agreement with Jerry's Foods, which will be additionally governed by access agreement and CIC condo agreement. The existing parcel will not be subdivided. However, Jerry's Foods is pursuing a separate PID for tax purposes. This project is privately funded. Pope Design Group is the architect of record, working with Houston Engineering as a civil engineer and landscape architect to secure approvals for the site and building design. Wings Credit Union will be ready to begin construction upon approval and receipt of the building permits with an expected occupancy date later this summer of '26. The existing property is zoned regional service commercial, and the city guide frame land use plan designation of regional commercial. The property is not in a floodplain, wetland, airport zone, environmentally sensitive area, or an area known to be culturally or archaeological significant. Wings has developed branch architecture that is unique and easily identifiable while being attractive and tasteful. The design and square footage are crafted after the Wings' iconic branches in Lakeville, Maple Grove, Rochester, and Baxter, with a footprint of just under 3,500 square feet. The new Eden Prairie branch will be a state-of-the-art financial institution incorporating four-sided architecture. You can see this building from every side, so we can't have a back of house, as it were. We are using Class 1 materials, and we have an extended live teller drive-up, or a drive-up with extended live teller hours, and a full-service branch including wealth management and access to the best-in-class mortgage and consumer loan divisions. The building design has been adapted to complement the architecture and materials of the adjacent Cub Foods building, incorporating stone. And the proposed building materials will meet city requirements outlined in the city zoning ordinance. Let's see here. I don't want to take up all of your evening, so I want to hit on a few important things about the site. This project will result in a reduction of impervious area on this site, while still meeting city requirements for parking requirements for both businesses on the site. The credit union will utilize a single-lane interactive teller machine. The drive-through lane accommodates up to 3 stacked vehicles, which exceeds an anticipated peak demand of 2 vehicles. The electronic teller functions as a traditional ATM, but also features video and audio capabilities, allowing drive-through customers to conduct full-service banking by speaking directly with a teller at the Wings location in Apple Valley. This system naturally distributes traffic more evenly than traditional drive-throughs. Remote teller services are available for 12 hours daily compared to 8 hours in a normal personal banking situation, and ATM functions operate 24/7. The extended availability spreads usage throughout the day and evening rather than concentrating traffic during peak banking hours, as occurs with pneumatic tube systems requiring in-person tellers. You understand, like I had just mentioned, that we are sharing parking with Jerry's Foods. 7 stalls will be immediately adjacent to the building, including 2 accessible stalls. We are including a bike rack as well as pedestrian access, improving pedestrian access to the site overall. And let's see here. We are removing 6 trees on the site in order to build the proposed facility. And this is to not only accommodate the building, but also to provide sort of, I would say, renewed growth from a landscaping perspective on the site. Because the building exceeds 20 feet in height, we are not only meeting the requirement of a 1-to-1 tree removal and tree planting, but providing more than what we're removing. Let's see here. I guess I'll just say in closing that the applicant's prototype branch architecture includes a pylon sign that is echoed in the building's fin element. You can see the blue fin. We understand that there is not an allowance for signage above the rooftop in Eden Prairie, and so we have relocated the signage down to the side of the fin, but the fin is very much sort of a signature element of the architecture for Wings branches. If you want to go to the next slide, I will just give you a quick peek at other existing locations in the Twin Cities and in Minnesota. Maple Grove, if you've been there, this building you can see does sit kind of in shared parking with surrounding buildings. And I want to point out that the drive-through in this instance is actually perpendicular to the flow of traffic, so there is no car stacking for this XTM drive-through. There are 2 locations or 2 XTMs, but there's no car stacking, and there has not been a need to have car stacking added. You can go to the next image. The Lakeville location is the only image that I have here that has an example of a drive-through attached to the building. But again, you can see that the architecture itself really does sort of stand out and beautify the community that it's built in. You can go to the next. Down in Northfield, this is a smaller version of our branch. The drive-through is adjacent to the building, but also still separate. And this is another example of us tucking into an existing parking lot and utilizing that space to provide more amenity and more services to people shopping in the community. You can go to the next one. If you've been up in Baxter, this building shines like a jewel as you're racing up to the cabin. And again, it's really an example of how we are utilizing kind of the fact that people are moving, they're on the move. The drive-through is separate from the building and it's adjacent to retail. So it's very easy to access and utilize. And I think we might have, is there one more? There we go, Rochester. This is another example. I mean, they're starting to look the same, I suppose, but I just wanted to provide, examples for you to see that we're doing this successfully in multiple communities in Minnesota, and we want to do that here.
Okay.
There's one other thing I wanted to mention, because I do know that there were some comments about stacking for the drive-through. There was a study done on current XTM usage. And right now, research has shown us that the average transaction time at the XTM drive-through is 2.5 to 3 minutes. Average daily transactions are 61, and the average transactions per hour are 2 to 5. So we do not personally have any concerns about car stacking as it's been designed.
All right. Just to clarify, I think you said Jerry's Foods a couple times. You're talking about Cub Foods, right?
Yeah, the owner is Jerry's
The
Foods.
owner is
That's
Jerry's Foods,
Yeah,
okay.
that's a company. Yes, sir.
All right. Any questions?
I have a question, Chair.
Commissioner Taylor?
Were there any other locations you took in consideration versus the Cub, where Cub is located for the credit union, for your bank?
Yes, I personally looked at the parking lot, the whole mall parking lot. We looked at multiple locations. We looked at Best Buy's parking lot, just kitty corner as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Duncan?
Just a question regarding the XTM versus the ATM. What's the difference in time that people are spending in XTM versus ATM? I know you mentioned the time that that is spent. What is the time spent typically on an ATM? Is that comparable, typically less time?
I have an associate who knows more than I do.
Fabulous.
Good evening. I'm Tom Schenke. I'm with Wings Financial Credit Union. I'm Vice President of Real Estate for Wings. ATMs versus XTMs, a lot faster at an ATM. People are coming in there to either get cash or deposit cash. Pretty much all they do. XTMs, people can do a number of different transactions from 7 to 7, but after those hours, it pretty much functions as an ATM.
Very helpful. I'm just thinking about stacking and how fast people are moving through an ATM versus an XTM. Very neat concept.
It was interesting with Maple Grove was our first one of these buildings that we built. And as Hans mentioned, we had 2 XTMs in that. Actually, their predecessor was PTM, same concept. We put 2 in there because no stacking. Since we built that building, we only go to 1 machine now. It's just drive-up service is really on the downswing. I mean, I remember some of the banks when I was growing up, there would be like 10 lanes of drive-up, and you just don't see it that much anymore.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Farr?
Yeah, I was probably the one that stirred the pot about the queuing for the ATM, XTM. And despite your research, I'm just trying to future-proof it in case you were to move out, someone else was to occupy and just had an ATM there. 3 stacks may not be enough, but it seems like with no downside, you could simply rotate that entire island 180 degrees so that instead of potentially stacking back into the main driveway of the Cub Foods, you could have all your customers enter the parking lot, make that turn in reverse order, and drive through from west to east instead of east to west. And there doesn't seem to be a downside. Matter of fact, it seems to be a lot of pluses to that. It gets the remaining 6 stalls of yours closer to your front door. Get your customer looking at the XTM, not in the sunlight, because they're facing south here, and get them facing north, which would be better. So I don't see
That's
any
an
downside
excellent
to that.
point. Yeah, and if I can speak to that. So we ran a lot of different scenarios through this, and I even recently reflipped it again to look at it and study it and try to understand, hey, yeah, would this be better? There are several different reasons that we think that it should stay the way it is. One is that when people are leaving an ATM, and this isn't a good thing, but they're typically distracted. They're like putting their wallet away, they're shuffling their cash, they're figuring some things out. And if we have the exit for that ATM, XTM, immediately into a primary artery of traffic in that parking lot, that could be a potential hazard. Another is that, yes, if we flip it, we add more parking spots for the Wings building, but we also then would significantly increase traffic through that parking lot. And the average age of people coming in for personal banking, we want to keep that parking lot as safe as possible and minimize that through traffic. Because when you flip it, the through traffic would have to come through the parking. But the way it is right now, you can come safely from the open lot and stack right behind and not interfere with the immediate parking for the building.
All right, I didn't understand the second point. You can get to it by going through the south loop on a clockwise direction just
Right.
as easily, but I understand your points. I would put more value on the not clogging up the intersection and having you address the safety concerns with a stop sign, something else on the way out. That's just my opinion, but it seems like a safer way to go and better for us all long-term. So,
Understood.
second question, all of your images and all of your photographs of the buildings around town, nice design, by the way, I like it. They all have those nice horizontal sunshades up on a clear story.
It was an
Curtain wall.
award-winning design, so yes.
Great, congratulations. I don't see the sunshades here. Is there a reason why?
We took the louvers off and actually just put to a film. The louvers were an extra expense we thought would dissipate the sun. They didn't work. So we went to a film called 3M Night Vision 15, I believe it is. And that actually helps a lot better, and it's a lot less expensive.
Okay, and that's on gray glass, it looks like, versus clear glass on the bottom. Did you
tinted.
really mean
It is
clear
tinted.
glass? You
Yeah,
have
we tint the upper windows, but we don't on the lowers. And
clear,
and the
not
gray-
tinted at all, just,
That gray tint is,
glowy.
like I said, it's a 3M night vision, so it
Yep.
basically gives it a little bit of a gray tone to it during the daylight, but doesn't block out. You can see through it fairly easily.
sure. Okay, so is the glass color of the outer light of glass, is it blue?
No, the blue is actually LED lighting inside the building.
Oh, okay,
Like when you see those night images, there's lighting on inside the building.
yep,
So in this situation, the dark glazing would look darker, or the
Yep.
top glazing would look darker, the bottom glazing is clear.
fine.
Yep.
Okay, thanks for that explanation, appreciate it.
Yeah, and I guess since you have the site plan up right now, I would just comment that the issue with coming in from the other side, like we can't come through that parking and pull a U-turn into, because you said you weren't quite clear on what I was trying to say about the flipping the, it's not flipped here, so I can't really
I
illustrate it,
understand.
but I'd be happy to correspond offline. Yeah, it's hard to explain sometimes, but
No, I'll leave it up to staff to evaluate that. I
Sure.
just wanted to bring it up as a potential betterment to the circulation and the
Understood.
long-term success of the site plan,
understood.
despite
yeah,
your optimism about the minimal number of stacks for your particular project.
Understood.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Chair, I got one more
Oh, yeah,
question.
Commissioner Taylor.
As far as the XTMs, I know it's drive up, but would your customer service, would your policy allow someone to walk up and use the service as well? Or do you have to be in a vehicle?
We We have not experienced walk-ups that I'm aware of. I'm sure it's probably happened, and I'm sure they've probably let them transact,
Okay.
would be my guess. We do have walk-up locations at, certain locations as well. The first one comes to mind, and we have a strip mall center in Blaine and we had a center location here just on the south side of the Eden Prairie Center, which we just moved out of, and that had a drive up on the side of the building, and I'm guessing that somebody might have walked up to that one as well.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Jeremy will take us through the city report.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. The applicant hit most of the high points. I just want to kind of fill in around the edges a bit. The project does meet all the design requirements, setbacks, things of that nature. There's no waivers or no variances requested with this one. This site did receive some waivers back when it was originally developed from a shoreland impervious coverage perspective, and some other waivers at the time. So those still apply here. So no additional waivers or variances are required. And as the applicant did mention, they're actually reducing the amount of impervious surface, about 4,000 square feet. So that's a positive in terms of this development. Access to the site will be as it is today. There's no new accesses off of Den Road or other adjacent streets. So they use the existing network, circulation network that serves Cub Foods. The parking meets and actually exceeds the requirements on site. The parking will be shared. This is not a subdivision, so it's not necessarily a shared parking agreement that we normally would see in other kind of separate uses. But parking will be shared between the uses there. So they do exceed the parking requirements for the site. Almost immediately when this project went public in terms of public comment, we received some comments from some area residents, Eden Prairie residents. All of them commented on the loss of trees along Den Road. And during this time is peak fall foliage time. Really, trees were at their splendor. Many of those trees will be lost due to the construction of the building and the utilities. It's unavoidable. These trees were not installed at the time of the original development for specific screening purposes, or as is now, we require trees at the perimeter and not the perimeter of sites to help kind of break up a sea of parking. The building will help that break up that perception, but the site will replace trees both adjacent to the building and kind of throughout the parking lot. So while loss of trees is unavoidable in this situation, they are mitigating that loss as required by code. Other comments we received were concerns with the internal circulation within the parking lot. And the commenters based this on concerns that they experienced in the other Jerry Foods location, or the Jerry Foods location on Hennepintown Road, when the Chipotle and when the Starbucks came in. They felt that that was confusing and potentially dangerous. Reviewing this site plan, staff is confident that the landscaped islands, the trees that will be placed in those will help direct traffic and help guide users in that parking lot, so that did not create a confusing situation. Obviously, with a parking lot full of cars, there's always going to be a little bit of overload in terms of kind of visual, where's my path, where pedestrians walking, that side of that sort of thing. But with the layout that we propose, or is proposed, it also the pedestrian pathway that's shown on the plan, that's shown on the screen earlier, that shows a connection between the sidewalk along Den Road and the Cub Foods, that helps provide a safe path, or at least a knowledgeable path. And this is similar to what we've done at the Lunds and Barley's project when Culver's was added, and then also with the Jerry Foods south of town when Chipotle and Starbucks was added. So kind of that pattern has been established. There's some minor tweaks that we'd like to see in the plans before presented to the City Council, outlined in the staff report. Really just changing of the plans, not anything new or any new criteria. Speaking of Commissioner Farr's comment about the pathway of the access, If that's shared with the commission, that should be reflected as a part of your comments or part of your motion so that it can be addressed before it goes to council. That would be the proper timing. So if the rest of the commissioners would like to see that change, that now is the time to add that. Staff is recommending approval as the plans are shown, subject to the conditions that are outlined in the memo, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the city? Commissioner Tucker.
Just a couple. So the sustainability requirements, building standards are not required. Can you just educate me on why that is?
So the building sustainability standards apply when a project is part of a PUD or a waiver,
what I thought.
and it's more than 10,000 square feet in terms of size. So not all buildings, even if they're part of a waiver, are triggered or trigger the requirement. We always encourage developers to add where appropriate, but it's not necessarily a requirement.
Okay, thank you. And I think they've done a good job with some of the initiatives anyway. The other question I have is regarding the variance. Can you educate me on why the variance is allowed to stay with this site plan?
Sure, a variance is applied to, it applies to a lot, doesn't apply to the applicant. So regardless of who changes, or who owns the property, the variance still applies. In this situation, the variance is granted for the impervious surface coverage. They're actually decreasing the impervious surface, so the variance wouldn't even apply if that first statement wasn't true.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yep, Commissioner Fart.
I didn't see those 6 removed trees on the landscape plan as trees to be removed, but it's in their notes. What kind of trees are they? Do you know?
They're going to be removed.
Yep, you said there's 6 trees being removed and the neighbors were concerned about that.
I believe a couple of them were spruce trees, maybe a couple of them were deciduous and autumn blaze or something like
Okay.
that. Maybe Matt knows.
A variety.
Yeah, a couple of them were crab apples, I think one locust or maple, and then the rest were pines.
Okay. Are they planting something similar?
Yeah, Commissioner Chair, yeah, they'll be planting similar species.
Great. Okay, thanks. And then regarding my idea to rotate everything 180 degrees to get the traffic flow from west to east, if we were to have that dialogue as a commission, is that something staff would support, or have you evaluated it enough? Or I don't want to force the issue and make it a requirement of a recommendation if it's not a good idea, if you guys have looked at it.
I appreciate that comment. What I would recommend is if that's shared by the commission, that maybe the motion would be that flipping of the pathway, whatever verb we want to use, should be explored further before it goes to planning, before it goes to city council. That gives the applicant the ability to do some more research and then be able to explain to the council why that's not a feasible alternative.
Good.
So you're sharing the goal of the commission, but not necessarily locking it in step. We try to avoid redesigning a site at the dais here.
That's the guidance I was looking for. Thank you.
Got a question for Commissioner Farr. What was the concern again with the XTM? I know it's facing, what's that?
It's facing west. You drive from
Right.
east to west, and if there were to be a backup of more than 2 cars waiting besides the customer at the XTM, it would block the Cub Foods north-south back driveway. And also there's 6 stalls for the bank that are on the south side of that island. And those people have to get out of their car and walk around the XTM lane to get into the front door of the bank. So we could solve a few different problems at the same time by flipping everything 180 degrees. By everything, I mean the 6 stalls and the drive-through lane going from east to west so that it goes from west to east. And with no other downside.
Or potentially move the XTM
On the other side.
to the east?
That's what it would be doing. The XTM would be moving to the east because as we rotate everything, it would end up on the east side of that lane. And so cars would be stacking. They would drive into the site off of the north-south Cub Foods aisle, I'll call it. They would drive past the front door, make a 180-degree turn, and start to queue for the drive-through lane. And so instead of, if you're looking at the site plan, instead of where you see the roof over the XTM device,
Yep.
instead of it being on the left side of the lane, it would be on the right side. That's correct. To the applicant's point then, once they're done with their transaction, they may look in the rearview mirror and see that there's someone behind them waiting. They'll put the car in drive, and certainly there will be a stop sign in front of them, but they have to immediately turn out into a driveway. And they suggested that might be a safety concern.
Mr. Chair, what I might recommend is the commission maybe agree on a concern rather than the solution. So if the concern is trying to add additional stacking on site, share that, and then have the developer or applicant come up with a solution. Kind of taking the solution off your table a little bit, but just sharing the main concerns, because there's several ways to skin this tree. And I think we can come to a solution better kind of offline.
Do others share that same concern?
Absolutely. I don't think it's our job. I think it's great that we have the expertise on the commission to suggest ideas, but I think it's the applicant's responsibility to make any changes after hearing some of the ideas that we might have. I don't think it's our job to redesign anything.
And do you share the same concern about the stacking? Are you concerned about the stacking?
I actually see both sides of it right now. I'm a little bit concerned about coming straight out of the XTM into a main traffic aisle, and that could be a potential safety issue.
Others, thoughts about that?
Can we ask the engineer? I'm curious what the city engineer thinks about it.
Sure, Chair and Commissioners. We had the exact same thought when we were looking at this first draft. I literally clipped out this and spun it 180 degrees and said, "What do you think of this idea?" They came back with the similar concerns. You know, the first one being leaving the XTM immediately and now deciding, okay, I have to enter traffic, which is that drive lane. The other one was the addition, having all those parking spaces back to back in that area right in front of the bank. And I understand his point when he talks about if you're coming in from the, we'll say, Plan South, that entrance, and you want to go into that XTM, there's a movement there that isn't just a 90-degree into a space. You would have to turn 180 degrees to get into that space. Because if you notice, there's a curb that separates the XTM lane from the other drive lane. That's right there that Jeremy's pointing to. The driver, if you're coming from the south, Jeremy, you can put your pointer to the south, that curb would be right in your way. So you would have to immediately almost take a 180 degrees to come around that. If you wanted to avoid that, you would have to go through the lane that's in the bank space, in the front door of the bank, which is, I think, his point about now there's more traffic in that space. You've got cars backing up into each other in that space. So I think that the volume of cars in there, maybe it's not a lot, but now you've got cars backing up. I think they alluded to kind of their demographics of who's going to the bank, who's backing up in those spaces. Now they have to worry about a car coming through that area as well. So those are some of the other points that they highlighted to us as we made the same comment about flipping that around. I'm not so concerned with the stacking. I think they've proven that with their other stores about not having that be an issue. Again, I'd just point out too that this orientation of their parking and where these people are driving, this is a parking lot. So we're not talking about 30-mile-an-hour speeds here, hopefully. We're talking about a parking space where cars are driving around. They have to negotiate a 90-degree turn at the end of this what used to be the main throughway in the back end of that parking lot. So hopefully speeds are a little slower there. So I just wanted to point out kind of those other two factors about the actual turning movement getting into there if it's flipped, and if it is, that's a problem to make that turning movement, it does force more cars into that space between in their front step. So that's how we saw it.
So if there was another car, where would it go? as it's currently laid out?
If there were 4 cars, it would stack there. It would stand in that aisle. That's north-south. Or it would park, you know, is my assumption.
Not in the drive lane,
I mean, if
the north and south?
it could. I don't know that that would be detrimental to the 2 minutes that it would wait there for that time frame, but
Thank you.
Thoughts about this? Real quickly, I'll go, this is a public hearing, if anyone would like to come forward and speak for or against this project. I'd like to come speak. All right, seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing and continue the discussion.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
All right, do I have a second to close?
Second.
Second, all those in favor of closing public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing's closed. All right, Commissioner Kirk, were you about to say something?
No, I don't have a comment right now.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah,
Commissioner Farr.
with all this discussion already, I think it's going to be reflected in the minutes. And so I don't think we necessarily need to force the issue anymore. You know, staff has already looked at this. I'm glad we had a discussion on it for those people who had an opinion about it. And I'm perfectly fine to let it ride.
Sounds good. Any other comments about this?
I agree with Commissioner Farr. I think the discussion's important. I don't think it needs to go further than that, in my opinion.
Sounds good. Would anyone like to make a motion then?
Mr. Chairman, move to recommend approval for the site plan review on 9.08 acres as recommended by staff, represented in the December 8th, 2025 staff report.
All right, a motion from Commissioner Kirk for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Sherwood. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Would anyone like to abstain? Okay, great. Thank you. Moving on. Thanks for your investment, Union Prairie. Good luck. Jeremy, any planners reports this evening?
Not tonight.
All right, any members' reports? All right, entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting this evening.
Motion to adjourn?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning say aye.
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 We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Hey there.